Okay, you can begin.
Okay, welcome to the January 17th, 2024 meeting of the Executive Committee. My name is Sandy McKee and I'm the chair of the committee. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez. This meeting is called to order at 6:32. As a reminder, New York state law requires all committee board members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the time the meeting is adjourned. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have in the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there is time following the committee's discussion, we will field questions from the public. Rupal will be taking minutes this evening. We will now take attendance by roll call. Jesus will conduct the roll call.
Right. In 1 second, I have far too many tabs open. All right. When I call your name, please say present. Majed Abdul Samad. Majed Abdul Samad. I don't see him. Kyle Thide. Kyle Thide. I don't see him. Neil Bartley is not joining us. Elvie Barroso, I did send Elvie a Zoom link, but she may not have gotten it. So we'll have to sort that out. But for now, she is not here. Claire Brennan. Claire Brennan. I don't hear anything. John DeRico. John DeRico. B. Disman.
Present.
Okay. Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Rupal Kakad.
Present.
John Keller.
Present.
Nadeem Kalani is not here right now. Sandra McKee.
Present.
Richard Mintz can't join us tonight. Matt Roberts.
Present.
Livia Shrednick.
Present.
Mark Thompson.
Present.
Gabriel Turzo.
Present.
With 9 of 17 members present, we have just made quorum by the skin of our teeth.
Yeah.
Good start.
The agenda the agenda will be on the screen before you shortly. If there's no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Okay, seeing no objections, the agenda is adopted. The minutes from the November 15th meeting are still being drafted. Once they are ready for distribution to the committee, they will be sent to you. There was no December meeting. In order to conduct an efficient meeting, we need some basic ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I will identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I will identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is extremely important that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what is being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you are having or to state in writing information such as an email address that was already stated aloud on the record during the meeting. I understand this is where I do my chair's report. Is that right? Okay. Just try to get the words. So tomorrow we'll be voting at Borough Board on the text amendments to modify the land use procedures for casino sites, and apparently community boards 4, 5, and 6 have all voted against it. So the resolution that came out was to vote against it. So that's positive. That's good. I know Kyle was going to reach out to other boards, but I haven't heard back. If he comes, we'll ask him what the status of that is. So hopefully other boards have the same mindset. Today I got a presentation on the FDR report that Majed and WXY have been working on. And actually it's an incredible report. It's very extensive. It's got a lot of information. So our next step is that we need to present it to the board and have it adopted. So one of the ideas that we had was to present it at a full board meeting. It's basically generated by land use and by transportation. And we could give them a 15 or 20-minute presentation time. And then I'm not sure if we need a resolution on it or if we can just move ahead and speak with our elected officials.
Well, it was created by the board.
Well, it was created by, there were several members of the board, but also the Municipal Art Society, WXY, all participated in producing the document.
Maybe we should do one just to give it a.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a resolution. So I wasn't sure if the resolution would come from exec then or one of the committees. I'm looking at our experienced chair.
I mean, it'd be nice if the whole board do it.
Yeah, so we would just need a resolution. Maybe we can prepare one here
From exec.
and then put it into the presentation. I'm not sure, I think February, have we decided on our meeting date for February?
So February 7th was the date that everyone preferred over February 14th. However, we're still having difficulties finding rooms, so I'll keep following up with folks that we've got feelers out to. Some have already said, no, we're booked. But we'll see.
And B has her hand raised. Oops.
She's muted.
I complained about you, so I did the same thing. So I have a question about the report. Is it a factual report or is it making recommendations? And are you going to be asking the board to adopt the recommendations? What is the resolution about?
Well, at this point, it's mostly factual and it provides sort of options for how this might progress in the future. But I think the resolution would be more that we use this to discuss the possible future of the FDR in our district.
So that this would be foundational for us for the work that the board will do in the future? Is that what we're talking about?
Work in the future with our elected officials. So it's, I'm not sure that it's the basis for further discussion. I don't think there's any specific proposals as part of it.
That was going to be my question. So it's a discussion document, because I think the resolution has to be specific as to what we're agreeing to.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I asked about February meeting is they said that they have it prepared, they're ready to present in February, or we could do it in March. So we might have them do it in March and we prepare our resolution at our next exec meeting. Does that sound reasonable? And it's a long-term process too.
That makes sense.
Yeah, okay, so we'll be doing that. Another item that's come up is Spark is, as part of the program, they are investigating office and community space for us. And I thought, again, it would be good to have some resolution from the board, or at least some show of hands that this is what we want to move forward with. Jesus gave me a preliminary plan of this office. So I think we're looking for something that's more or less twice the size of this office. And that it would be a space that would have the ability to have community board meetings, but also board meetings for other parts of our community. So we have our first Spark meeting next week. Could we just maybe do a show of hands that we think that's an appropriate?
Well, there's already a budget request that the board has voted on year after year. So it's one of those. So if you're looking for the legitimacy to say, hey, we want a better office space, your budget request that gets passed every October seems like it's it.
okay. So we all agree that's something we want to do. I think, yes, we as a board have,
It's just the location that's
Right.
identified.
right, okay. One thing okay, so that's, next item, vice chairs for committees. We have a couple of committees that don't have vice chairs currently. And also we're down, I think, almost basically 9 members. 7. We have 2 members that have not been attending. And we need to decide what we want to do about that.
What it's worth, I reached out to Matt, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, and we have one other member who apparently has not attended any meetings ever. So,
Yeah, I recall that we wrote into the bylaws the last time that there's a process to send a letter by certified mail, I believe. But, you know, that doesn't sound like a bad idea, because it certainly has been a lot of good faith effort made to reach these people, I think, as far as they're concerned.
and the board has sent a certified letter and it was returned.
Step ahead of me.
Well, it was, we sent it to one of the person who has not shown up at all.
Yeah,
We sent him a certified letter, it got lost, so maybe the member did, I don't know.
Are
He's in the Bermuda Triangle or something.
they on Facebook or LinkedIn? That's always, that'd be a way to find somebody.
I did try, it's a fairly common name.
Oh,
And also like, we could call them every single day until they pick up, but, is that the best use of the office's time to be hounding people who, in theory, said they wanted to be, board members?
And B has her hand up.
So because we did have a discussion at the bylaws, I think it is very significant. I think we did ask the office to try a phone call, do the certified mail, even do a follow-up, and then we take it up as a board. Because I think it is a total waste of time if you don't get any response from the person.
And I believe we are at that point with at least one of them.
So I think Sandra, I think we have to then take it up as a board issue, because that goes to the full board.
So.
And just to be clear, that process was never put in the bylaws, it was just sort of, it was discussed.
It was discussed, yeah, because we've actually had that process years ago.
Yeah.
And then we did not do anything, and we sort of went back to the process that we had years ago.
So does that mean we write a resolution at exec that goes to full board that asks for them to be removed?
That is one of your options, if you'd like to do that, yes.
And other options are,
The other option is one of the members is up this term. So you can just wait for that person to either not reapply and then they will not be reappointed, but you could be waiting another 5 months for that to happen. Because the application for the borough presidents, that the borough president released just came out. And it'll close in late February, and it could be another 2 months after that, or maybe 3 even, for members to be reappointed.
So if we remove that person now, we can have an empty slot to fill by somebody else.
Yes, but if that person doesn't get removed now, but also doesn't reapply, that empty slot will still be there. The other person, the one who hasn't shown up at all, they are not up until next year. So if you do nothing with them, their seat will be empty for up until mid-2025.
and since we probably won't get anyone to replace someone before the next round, I recommend that person, we just, try and still reach out to them, encourage them to attend, but we don't do anything. And we can confirm when we go through the appointments if they have reapplied. The other person, it sounds like our option is then to write a resolution to have them removed.
Just to be clear, when you say the other person, are we talking about the one that's up this?
The one that's not up this term,
Okay, the one who has not shown up
the
at
one
all.
who's not shown up.
Then yes, that is certainly an option that's available to you. Again, the process isn't written out anywhere, but that also means that you guys can sort of pretty much do whatever you want. So if someone wanted to move that this particular member be removed for cause because they have met the sufficient requirement for removal because of the bad attendance, and someone seconds it, then all the exec need to do is take a vote. And we will model the resolution after one of the previous ones, this, last time this happened. And
Oh, B has her hand up.
So Sandy, I move the resolution for this person that never appeared to take a resolution and action that we bring it to the full board. I think it's a very important thing that we do. Someone never appearing is outrageous.
Second.
okay,
So we will vote, seeing, or. Sorry, I know there's something I should be saying. We now take a vote on, removing the person who has not shown up. For the
Gerald Jones.
Gerald Jones, all right, we can call by name. By roll call. When your name is called, please answer I may abstain or not entitled.
Right, that-
If we say aye, we are saying yes to removing them, correct?
Yes,
Just want to clarify them.
I'm sorry, yes.
All right, so a resolution to remove Gerald Jones, CB6 member for cause for absenteeism. When I call your name, please indicate in favor, which means you want to remove this person, opposed, which means you do not, abstain or not entitled. Majed Abdul Samad. Not here. Kyle Athaid. Not here. Neil Barkley is not with us tonight. Elvie Barroso is having some issues getting on. Claire Brennan. Not here. John DeRico.
Aye, although I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but I would just caution that we write it very gently in case this person is passed away.
Yes, we can certainly do that. Beatrice Disman,
In favor?
Jason Fromowitz.
In favor.
Rupal Kakad,
In favor,
John Keller,
In favor.
Nadine Kalani is not here. Sandra McKee,
In favor,
Richard Mintz is not here. Matt Roberts,
In favor.
all right. Lydia Shrednick,
in favor,
Mark Thompson,
In favor.
thank you. Gabriel Turzo.
In favor.
Okay, with 10 of 10 members voting in favor, no opposed, no abstentions, no not entitled. This motion to remove Gerald Jones from CB6 passes and we'll move on to full board. Unless one of you wants to do it, I can mock it up since we have the. If you want to see the last time this was done in 2005, go to the Reso tracker and search for removal for cause under the tag. You'll see that last one. So,
and I did do that, just.
Oh.
It's brownie points, please. And then, yes, so committees, there's still a little bit of movement on committees, just, we'd like to have vice chairs for all of them, and there are some people who, I mean, just because of the way things have, you know, people are on exec, they wanted to come off of certain committees, there's still a little bit of fluidity going on. So tomorrow there's the town hall at NYU Dental, from 6 to 8:30, and I'm representing the board, and they want to talk about public safety. Not my expertise, but I will let them know that the public safety meeting is actually happening at the same time as the.
Sorry, what's the town hall for Mount Sinai, or what's the town hall?
It's for, well, it's actually Harvey Epstein's,
okay.
and it's a variety of issues, and for some reason, he asked me to speak about, or to be present at public safety. Matt, any pointers?
I mean, I don't know what his agenda looks like, and I don't know, I really haven't heard about the meeting, so.
Yeah,
Our meeting will, like you said, will be going on at the same time, so.
so I don't know who's coming from the 13th.
Yeah.
we would have suggested that you cancel yours, but you had, it took so long to get those
Yeah,
officers there.
right, we have the commanding officers booked for the time frame. So.
So I will certainly let them know, and that, I mean, the
They
things,
can watch the video.
yeah,
Yeah.
after,
Yeah.
yes. And I mean, as I mentioned, you know, we do hear about the illegal cannabis shops and,
Yeah, yeah, I mean, that's,
I think people just want to know why.
yeah, it's,
just why. And we can't solve it, but we should know why.
Yeah, you could spend hours talking. about it.
Yeah.
Still not understand why.
Yes. Coming up is the city of Yes. Housing issues, which I think probably we want to have be addressed by several committees because it's, again, a very large issue that affects the whole district. And I think that's it for chair's report. Jesus is going to give his district manager.
All right. Thank you. Welcome, Sandy. All right, a few things, some housekeeping stuff. We need to start thinking about rescheduling April's full board. It falls on the night of Eid al-Fitr. And so due to a resolution that we passed regarding the scheduling of meetings around holidays, we need to reschedule that meeting. There are a handful of dates, but I'm going to focus only on 3 dates in the first half of the month because the second half of the month, especially that last week or two, is largely taken up by Passover anyway. The resolution, I believe, that we passed calls for only rescheduling around the first 2 nights of Passover, but so as not to complicate people's plans. I recommend either April 3rd, April 4th, or April 16th. Wednesday, April 3rd, Thursday, April 4th, or Tuesday, April 16th. Now, I guess specifically to our chair and our first vice chair, if any of those dates are no-goes right off the bat, since you guys are, everyone's important, but you are the most important to be at the meeting, let me know now. But otherwise, we'll just send around a poll online and people can decide which ones they want to, they would prefer, but April 3rd, April 4th, April 16th. Because yeah, we're bound by that resolution to reschedule. And unfortunately, canceling a full board is not ideal. And generally the charter itself frowns upon canceling a full board during the regular season. It's not like a committee meeting, which can easily be canceled. Are there any questions about that? Second thing on my list, we don't often get these sorts of things, but from the Public Design Commission, we got a copy of this snazzy little report that explores how street design can enhance public wellness. It might be of interest to some of you. We only got 1 copy, but you can read it here, or we can send you a link to a digital version of this report. I can send it to you all after the meeting's over, if there's any interest, and you guys can do with it what you'd like. But we'll keep the hard copy here for anyone to consult if they want. Lastly, and I don't want to dwell too much on this because I am mindful of the time, but I think, you know, we should be speaking about this more because it's clear that members are confused. The way to attend on Zoom, I think folks are confused about. Long story short, the open meetings law will assume that you will be there in person. That, according to the law, is the default. The ability to meet on Zoom, at least until the end of June, still exists. But there are 2 ways to take advantage of that. And I'm going to tell you guys because we will probably need your help in spreading this word to your various committee members and other members of the board. The 2 ways to partake of being on Zoom, and I'll start with, I guess the simplest one is disability. If you are disabled, if you meet the state definition of what a disability is, you can sort of RSVP to our meetings with a disability, either a permanent or a temporary one, and then you will automatically get to attend the meeting on Zoom. The chair doesn't have to agree, the office doesn't have to say anything. We see that request, no more questions asked, honor system. We will send you a link to attend on Zoom. Okay, that's how that works. You get to count for quorum, you get to fully participate on Zoom, but you have to be disabled, either permanently or temporarily. The other way is the way most people are familiar, because this disability provision only came about in the last few months. And we enshrined it in a resolution back in September when we updated our meeting practices reso. Back in mid-2022, the only way you could be on Zoom was through an extraordinary circumstance. For that, you would have to let the office know, and the chair of the meeting that you're attending, that you want to be on Zoom for, and that chair of the meeting has to then agree, yes, you can be on Zoom. Until that happens, we can't technically send you the link. And even if they do agree and we send you the link, you don't count for quorum. So those are the two ways. And I think we've been seeing a lot of sort of people just replying one way, and we sort of treat them like they have a disability and they count for quorum. And so it's getting kind of messy. And so the office is gonna try and really stick to the way the resolution was written. But if there are any questions about this stuff, or if there's something the office can be doing to make this clearer, I'm open to questions, I'm open to suggestions, but it's clear that it's becoming confusing for members, because we all the time we get members asking the staff, hey, send me, I've got delayed because of work, I got delayed because of this, send me a link, when we don't have the authority to do that. We can do it if the chair of the meeting that you're missing, or that you're going to be on Zoom for, says we can. If you're disabled, then we have nothing to do with it. We'll just tell us that through this form that we've created, the RSVP form you guys have been seeing, and then you can just attend, no questions asked. Question.
In terms of the disability proponent, is there anything required to be eligible? Do you have to say that you are disabled before submitting that on the form, or just you by way of RSVPing and saying you have a disability that allows you to attend the meeting? On
the RSVP form, it will ask you, it will say, I want to attend due to a disability. You will say it is a permanent disability, or it's a temporary disability. If it's a temporary disability, it'll ask you, when will you be better, essentially. But that's it. There's no doctor's note. You don't even have to tell us what the disability is. For reasons that relate to medical record keeping and HIPAA and stuff like that, we were counseled by the borough president's office not to even get into seeking that kind of documentation, because then we would have to protect that kind of documentation.
So if you were sick, for example, all you'd have to do is fill out the form, say you have a disability.
Yes.
And there's nothing else. There's no email to anybody.
Nope. You just you fill out, we check that, and then we will see, oh, so-and-so fill it in. We'll just go ahead and send you the Zoom link. So now, I mean, you could have someone say, well, if you've got the flu, does that mean you're disabled? Honestly, since we're not getting into prove to us you're disabled, so long as you say it, we're gonna take your word for it, whatever it is. So good question. Any other questions? So, yes.
No, I just want to compliment Brian and Brendan for their patience with those of us who haven't understood.
Yeah, no, it is confusing.
Very, very
We've got it because we deal with this day in and day out, but I can see how it's a patchwork of things that are confusing. And in 5.5 months' time, all of that may change depending on what the legislature decides to do. Maybe we'll go back to completely the way we were before the pandemic, and all the Zoom stuff goes away, at least for the members, but hopefully not. We'll see. But we'll keep I'll bring this up from time to time, but yeah, those are the two ways that you can.
Yes, second question. So you can attend the Zoom meeting as just like public attendee, right? In theory. So could someone who has not requested, that just hasn't shown up, pop in as a public attendee? How would that work and apply?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
So like we've got public attendees
Yes.
in the Zoom. Could a board member join via that route who's not here and failed to RSVP in any other way?
Yes, they can. I mean, because that link is on our website, so anyone can use that. If they haven't told anyone they're going to attend that way, then they don't officially count as being in the meeting. They are just a member of the public, like any other member of the public.
So they wouldn't be able to vote in
No.
that scenario? Okay.
They do that, no. You know, ideally, what they would do is they would just say, hey, I need to attend. And the problem with it is because the chair needs to agree, and that's not something CB6 does alone. I mean, even the city council does it that way. The speaker's office needs to okay that. If you do it too close to the beginning of the meeting, you run the risk of not getting that approval because people are busy. But yes, technically anyone can join as a member of the public, but they will be a member of the public. They will not be voting or anything. If we catch them, then we can probably, if the chair is kind, we can elevate them up. But, all right, but I'll bring this up at full board. Just if there are any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And you can always consult the September 2023 resolution at which Community Board 6 updated its meeting practices and has all the information there. That's it.
Okay, next, we're going to review all of next month's committee agendas. And the order of the meetings in February, we start with transportation.
Yes, we're covering, we're first hoping to have TLC come and do a brief presentation on TLC.
They confirmed.
They have confirmed. Okay, great. So we'll have them. I think they said there's gonna be like 10-15 minutes on just an overview of the office. And then we're gonna be discussing congestion pricing. I'm expecting that to be a spirited discussion, and don't want to put much else on the agenda for that reason. My plan is to go through a summary line by line and then discuss if we want to make any sort of comments or recommendations on each element of the latest proposal, to try to keep things in an orderly manner, and not just a bashing session about congestion pricing. And potentially have feedback, a resolution or feedback coming out of that discussion, if we have desire to do so from the committee.
And when does the comment period end?
I don't know offhand. I think we have, if we don't do it in this next meeting, I believe we will have missed the comment period.
I
And
thought it went to the end of March or mid-March.
March 11th, I believe.
March 11th. So if we have a resolution, it would be at,
Yeah, we would need to, from the committee meeting, have a resolution coming out of that.
so it would be at the March full board.
Yes.
No, it'd be at the February full board,
It's by the 7th.
7th or 14th, depending on where we can find, when we can find a room.
We should be able to pull it off because we could write a resolution after the meeting in February.
And we might give you some tips for how to deal with public comment.
Yeah, welcome the tips. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess so relating to the room. So it just so happens that in February, several committees want to have potentially big meetings. And we don't even have a space for full board yet. So I cannot promise, we are trying. We haven't been asked by the transportation committee to find them a bigger room, but we've been trying to just in case.
I anticipate most of the public is going to join via Zoom, but I don't know if that's the case. I feel that's been the case, I think, really. Have we had much public presence in, I mean, I know. obviously-
No, but this hasn't been on the agenda.
Yes.
So that may be what they have to do.
I mean, I would prefer that.
That may be what they have to do. We're gonna explore the possibility of getting an overflow room in this building. But that only would let us do another dozen or so people, so it's not huge amounts. But yeah, we can't get a big room, then it's just gonna have to be here like always, by reservation, and it's, so that's that. I guess I'll ask this, unfortunately, someone from budget is not here because apparently a similar item is on their agenda this month too. And so I guess that'll impact how many big rooms are we supposed to be looking for?
And I might recommend that we have it on only one agenda because, I mean,
That
I
might be
think,
wise.
Yeah, agree. I had a brief conversation on potentially doing a joint committee meeting on that, on the topic. I think it solely belongs in transportation. I don't think having more parties in the voting table is gonna lead to any sort of consensus.
Yeah, I mean, I know budget has a slightly different take on it. It's more the economic impacts of it, but I don't think we're more than two separate meetings.
That be brought up in transportation too.
Sorry, could
Can't
you-
that be brought up in transportation, the economic impacts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. We just encourage people from budget.
Well, it's also, I would say the economic impacts are funding the MTA, which is a function of the city's transportation. I really strongly disagree that that really has a place in
They have a
budget.
different take on it, but I think it really should be. Well, maybe not, we'll be able to join us later. Environment and parks. Or do we have anything else for transportation?
That's all that's for next month. I do have something else to bring up and more upcoming, but I don't know if this is now the appropriate time to talk about it or.
If you want to float it out there and get some feedback.
Okay, then yes. So something Gabe and I have been talking about is a resolution or a proposal to request Irving Place to be pedestrianized or become an open street in some way, shape or form. We see it as a very low traffic street that has a high opportunity to be better used as opposed to traffic today. Sort of looking for some guidance about how we would want to potentially approach that. I think our initial thought was bringing it up in new business potentially next month, although we'll see how that goes. And from there, scheduling it on the agenda for March and trying to invite some of the stakeholders on the block, which would be some of the buildings. There's a couple of businesses in the block.
Yeah.
It is on the edge of our district, right? Like half
Yeah, it's like
street.
the last.
And just a bit of history, we had an architecture student do a proposal for an open street. And she actually met with the stakeholders and discussed it with them
On Irving?
on Irving.
Oh. interesting.
Absolutely. I might still have the document. The chair of the transportation committee did not want to take it up at the time.
When was this?
Hmm?
When was that?
So I guess 2020 was during the pandemic.
Okay,
So the video should still be on if it was at a committee.
Well, the chair of the committee did not want to discuss it, so it was not discussed. But we could certainly, she already approached people, got feedback.
yeah, I'm interested on what that looked like.
Yeah.
That'll sort of at least give us a sense of how much it makes sense to pursue this.
And certainly, I'll try and get her notes from who she talked to and how far. Okay.
You go next.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
For something like that, right, where we're literally on the border, are we, do we have protocols for like kind of cross CB, cooperation? Or is it sort of an ad hoc process, or do we, as we say, look, we got this street is at least half in our district, so we can go for it on our own volition?
We, again, the same person reached out to CB5, to their transportation committee, and they were supportive, but really wanted us to present to our board first. So, but I don't think we don't really have a protocol for how to deal with other boards.
Will we be stepping on their feet by inviting like people from the other side of the street to a committee meeting?
We should talk to them first.
Okay.
And we have done various things with other boards. We, like the text amendment for casinos. So it would be reaching out, I think, to the transportation committee there. And do you know anyone on that committee?
No.
Because we could certainly assist and get that. But I think maybe March is. But
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily urgent. So yeah, it doesn't have
it
to be
might
March.
might do the little, groundwork first.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Oh, yeah, great. All right, on to environment and parks. And Neil said he did submit his agenda, is that it?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, that covers.
That's a good committee.
Unless there's anything else that we know of that. Okay, then on to budget and governmental affairs, which is, that's not here. Public safety.
All right, what do we have so far, this February, so we'll be talking shoplifting, in that meeting, so that'll be larger meeting, I think this room and Zoom should accommodate everybody, I don't think we need a larger room there, but we want to make sure that all parties are formally invited, that includes the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, the Business Improvement Districts, NYPD, and of course, the community itself as a whole, so.
Is that the January meeting or
That's the February meeting.
February meeting?
Yeah, January, I think we're pretty much set. It's possible that the cannabis shops may get laid over, depending on how far the hate crimes conversation goes tomorrow. Seen a lot of emails from the committee on that, so I think that'll be spirited, and we do have an attorney joining us to cover that. So that is all I'm looking to put on the February agenda. There's one other issue that I don't really think belongs on the public safety agenda that was brought up in committee, and that's dealing with the Department of Transportation and repairing sidewalk hazards, if the property owner doesn't. So it's in the law right now, the way it's written right now, but I know the office has had some issues with some district service problems, where, you know, there's just no action being taken. So a member of our committee wanted to discuss that. I mean, I'm happy to do it in March. The Transportation Committee did not want to take it up, but it is DOT, and I know Transportation already has that relationship with DOT, so.
What are we talking about specifically in terms of?
Just why, you know,
Just in general.
what it takes, it's their, I mean, their policy, to the way the law is written, so it's more of a policy issue.
So it's a question of, do we want to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically putting it out there, because I mean, well, it's a public safety matter. If, you know, if these things don't get addressed, but it is Department of Transportation.
I welcome you to address it. I think we've got a bunch of them.
So, all right,
Okay,
so, we'll try to take that up in March with a couple of other issues, but I didn't want to just put that on the agenda without letting you know.
I'm supportive of you guys, and let me know if I can help.
All right, next.
Sorry,
I'm
for
sorry.
February, you said you wanted to, have you let Brendan know who needs to be invited, or? shall I-
Yeah, I sent him, I mean, we talked about it, I think he sent some save the dates back in December. But yeah, we should just let everybody know that's still happening and what the expectations are. That everybody, that it would be great if the business improvement districts would have a, you know, quick report for their district as to what they're hearing from their businesses. And if any other business stakeholders want to join, for that purpose, that's fine too.
Every CVS in one means.
Yeah, and there's a couple of other, there's a couple of private security groups or advocates that I will invite. But that's pretty much it from the board office.
Just curious, what's the like desired outcome of the shoplifting?
I mean, really just to kind of inform everybody what actions are being taken. You know, I think there's a general consensus that it's open season on shoplifting still. You know, we had the district attorney's office come and explain their policies 2 years ago. So that's why I wanted to follow up now. They hadn't been in office long enough to, you know, have any results. But I think it's, you know, whatever they were proposing back then clearly hasn't solved the problem. So I think there's definitely a need for more action. Otherwise our businesses are just, you know, really just going to, you know, improve relationships, and basically remind the businesses that it's critical that they report every incident that occurs. I think a lot of them have just given up. So we'll see how that one goes.
Housing and homelessness,
There is no one here from that committee tonight.
and they haven't submitted an agenda.
Yes, they did submit an agenda for January. Not for February. I can display. We can display the January one. This is their January agenda. Their meeting had to be rescheduled because it fell at MLK Day. We're working on them to reschedule or cancel their February meeting because that falls on President's Day.
And the update of the mayor's proposed city of yes. Again, probably should be with land use. But there are updates, I guess. We can maybe talk to Rich about how to. We could do that. Okay,
Just while we're still on this, I also plan to talk to Richard on the second point. I'm sure we'll get to this in a second, I brought him up. But I would like to see if there's some room for collaboration on the migrant issue. It's a really sticky issue to educate people that have at best temporary housing. I think right now, not to be like too punny about it, but there's like an education issue on our end. Like we need to learn more about how the nature of the problem and how we can go about solving it. And I think Rich has done some work on this already that I think is really interesting. So I'm reaching out to him to see if we can.
Yeah, when I was still chair, I reached out to him, and he's very interested.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking for him, but he's very interested.
I appreciate the groundwork.
I know it's hard to do, but sometimes it's good to do these as joint meetings, so we have.
I'd be happy to, honestly. It's
Yeah,
less work for me.
yeah, and less work for the board office and
Oh, yeah.
everybody, you know, it's an issue that's good, so I don't know. January 31st is pretty close to try and get your committee to commit to them. So maybe we could ask Rich if we could do it in February and have a joint meeting potentially,
I'll send him a note tonight.
because I think that would be, you know, productive. All right. Land use and waterfront.
January or February?
Well, I guess we've got time for, for February, so let's do January.
Yeah, oh.
Yeah,
and-
Please, yeah,
and just,
Michelle's not
yeah, I don't believe we're, in a position to speak to February right now, but there's a lot of very interesting life sciences developments happening all along First Avenue. So we're gonna be hearing from the EDC, regarding, the Spark Kips Bay project, which Sandy, Majed and I, kind of got a preview of. It's incredibly exciting. We do, some, you know, some things we want to iron out the details and put our opinion out there, whether or not we want the things in it, you know, have, with regard to accommodation, bikes, pedestrian, open space, you know, where we're putting which portion of these life sciences centers. So we do want to get our feedback out in there, but it's a really exciting project. Innovation Life East is the first one. That is where the Alexandria Learning Center is up on First Avenue, and this city's going to do a kind of a major overhaul there to create a lot more life science office space. We have some fellows. I've been working with Saba Mahmood, and they're going to present their preliminary findings for climate proofing the eastern portion of Manhattan, north of the Easter project. She showed me some really interesting stuff, and I look forward to sort of some back and forth. City of Yes, it's probably something we're going to talk about in February. I just imagine that's something the City of Yes for housing is something we're gonna have to go into in much greater detail in February. And that's all I got.
Okay, next is youth and education.
Yes, so we canceled the January meeting, and I've started to I've scheduled calls with, individual members of the committee. First one starting tomorrow. There's a lot of ideas from the committee, which is fantastic. Stu sent me like a 2,000-word memo on some plans he had, which I actually think is fantastic. I would really like to utilize the committee to the fullest extent possible and essentially have every committee member running down tracks under oversight of myself and the vice chairs once they come into being. I think the issue, and not to speak for John, but that was first and foremost in his mind, and I think in my mind as well, is the migrant children in public schools. So I'm very eager to get started on that. I've started reaching out to folks that could join potentially for the February meeting. Really started to form an agenda for this. But there's sort of a lot of balls in the air that I'm hoping we can start to land and formalize plan next week or two. I think that's pretty much everything. There was recently a number of migrants were rehoused from tents into a school, which had strong reactions from a variety of people across the spectrum. That I think would have, you know, similar emotional responses as congestion pricing. So I'm still not sure whether or not my first committee meeting is the best opportunity for it, but it's a really ripe issue. So yeah, we're gonna move forward in a bunch of these very shortly.
If you want me to, I'll happily reach out to the DOE and see where they are in terms of public information on this. So far, they have not been
I,
figuring this out. So
Yeah.
we can hope. So,
thank you. I'll send you that.
So should we sort of just like give you like a 2-week breathing space before we follow up again on the February agenda?
Follow-ups are always appreciated. I just realistically, I don't have anything for like a couple weeks, and I'm sorry. It's
So then we'll check back after 2 weeks. There's no need to follow up if there's nothing there. So.
very much appreciated though.
Okay, business affairs and licensing, I guess we.
That agenda is in formation. It was sent to Claire. We're just awaiting her feedback on what should be called in for January's meeting and what should not be. And it's too early for February.
And there is some movement on the outdoor dining. So Anton and I are going to a presentation tomorrow that the American Institute of Architects is doing, just to sort of forward the whole idea. So maybe we'll hear more about that. Okay. I guess, is there any member of the committee who has old or new business? Please raise your hand. Okay. And just, oh, sorry, 4 questions, okay.
Well, they were the ones you guys were looking at earlier. I don't know. I was busy setting up. I don't know if anything's gonna be done with these.
He thought it was the transportation committee this evening.
Oh, okay. Right. Never mind.
So just a heads up that those questions will be coming. So I guess that's it. I encourage everyone to come on Friday night. It's supposedly may snow, but we're not sure. And if there are no objections, we will adjourn the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I hate to be that guy. With budget, I know budget's not here, but with they potentially also having congestion pricing related stuff on their agenda. Are we taking that out now? Are you guys gonna talk behind the scenes and let me know later?
Nads hasn't zoomed in yet. I think we should take it off. But I will need to discuss with, there's one member of the committee.
So why don't you sort it out with them and then let us know?
Okay. I will. Okay. Great, all right, so you know for the business, the meeting is adjourned at 7:21.
Great meeting, yeah.
Thank you.